Inflation rate was announced this morning to be at 7%, which is the highest in 4 decades. So, is this good for Bitcoin? Is Bitcoin going higher? Let's find out. Welcome to Crypto Tax Club, where you win the tax game like the whales do. This is Crypto Tax Club, and thank you all for watching. If you haven't done so, please make sure you subscribe to my channel, and also, this is not financial advice, so please do your research on what we discuss on this channel. So what is inflation? Sometimes we don't realize it. Your money today will be worth less tomorrow. As Michael Saylor will say, trash is cash. 7% inflation rate means that your cash from last year is worth 7% less than today. It means that if you had $1,000 last year, you aren't going to be able to buy as much things like, let's say, a car, because cars are much more expensive in comparison with last year. This is why people would hedge and place their money into Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is scarce. It will go up in value in time relative to cash. But you might be asking, why does Bitcoin fall when there's news about inflation? It's because people panic. When they think of inflation, they think that the economy will crash. People will just freak out, but they all get back to their senses a few days later when they realize that, hey, it isn't too bad. So today, inflation number was in line with what we were expecting. We knew that before the inflation numbers, there were going to be panic sellers. So today seemed to be an opportunity to buy back in. So Bitcoin is at 43,600. We are on the daily chart right now. So first, let me tell you a couple of good indicators that I'm seeing, and then tell you some not so good indicators. The first good indicator is the pattern we are seeing looks similar to September 29th. On September 29th, you can see that we bounced off the $40,000 support, and then the bull run happened and saw an all-time high. This looks similar to what we are seeing now, where we also bounced off that support line. So that's the first good indicator, but just wanted to say that the past is not an indicator for future moves. So you really have to look at all the indicators and then decide what you want to do. So the second indicator is the RSI. I've covered this in my previous videos. The relative strength index shows whether something is overbought or oversold. Anything below 30 is oversold, so Bitcoin bounced at just below 30, which tells me that we are very close or already bounced off the bottom. An indicator of 30 doesn't always mean that it's the bottom. Take a look at December 10th. We would have thought it's the bottom, which in the short term, it did gain a few percentage points. But then it fell back down to an RSI level of 30, and the price is even lower. Or look back in March 2020, it fell all the way down to the 16s. But anyways, we have two green candles that supports a bounce, so this is a second good sign that we will keep going. The third is that the price has broke the 9-day moving average. Historically, the 9-day moving average will act as a resistance, and breaking through it will show a bullish sign. Just like back in September 30th, it also broke the 9-day moving average, and you can see that it made its way back to an all-time high. The fourth is a fundamental growth of Bitcoin, such as more countries making Bitcoin a legal tender. This article was released yesterday. So Bitcoin Lightning Network powered app called Strike launches Bitcoin payment service in Argentina. Argentina inflation rate in 2020 was 42%. And 53% in 2019. So if you have $1,000 in 2019, you will only have a buying power of $250 in 2020. So if you think about it, Bitcoin solves the currency issue. So with this news, hopefully later this year, Argentina will announce Bitcoin as a legal tender. And then it says that they also plan to expand to Brazil and Colombia. So hopefully by the end of 2022, we can see Argentina, Brazil, and Colombia making Bitcoin as a legal tender, which is great news for Bitcoin. So all of this are good signs that Bitcoin is headed towards the right direction. But I wouldn't get too excited just yet, because I think we still need to see Bitcoin to make a couple more green candles before we can say we are in a bull market again. So here are a couple signals that I'm seeing that we can possibly be stagnant or even go lower. The first is that we still aren't out of the daily head and shoulder pattern. So you can see the left shoulder, the head, and then the right shoulder that is completed. A head and shoulder is a bearish pattern. It doesn't have to be perfect. and we are technically still in the right shoulder. We will have to see Bitcoin pass the top of the right shoulder, which is $50,000 before an uptrend. Now, if it does drop and break that next support, it will look very bad. Going to number 2, we have FOMC meeting on the last week of January, where we find out more about plans for interest rate hikes, more inflation news, and balance sheet reduction. So Bitcoin can still possibly drop if we see negative news coming out of the FOMC. Also, we may see a sell-off similar to what we saw these past couple days before CPI numbers that was announced today. And finally, the third reason is that we fell from $68,000. $43,000 is pretty far away. It's not going to go straight up. There are so many resistance lines along the way from 50,300 and 59,000. The Ichimoku cloud indicator looks at more long-term and plots a cloud using a variance of moving daily averages. Usually, anything below the cloud still means we are on a downtrend. And once the price goes up to the cloud, it will act as a resistance. So you can see the cloud lines up with the resistance line of $50,000. So what would get me excited is that Bitcoin surpasses the $50,000 mark. And from there, I'll look to add some more positions. But I'll be careful too because we wouldn't want to see the price drop below the cloud. So to summarize, I think the next few weeks we will see Bitcoin sort of be shaky before the FOMC meeting. We really want to eye that $50,000 mark and then see where it's headed. Right now, a mini pump to $44,000 isn't enough to say that we are in a bull market. We just have to sit tight and wait to see where Bitcoin is headed. I don't typically like to give price prediction as there's so many macro events that can drive the price down. Just like the end of 2021, my price prediction for some were way off. But if I had to take a guess, I do think that we will be making an all-new high later this year. So I hope you guys find this helpful. If you like my content, please make sure you subscribe to my channel, Crypto Tax Club, and have a great night.